on your job, nigga. Motivation. Haters better get on your job. Tell them. Haters get on your job, nigga. It's motivation. Suck a nigga, get on your job.
Tapping in with Tunchi again. It's BBC Podcast. Got a very extraordinary guest today. Had to reach out to him, man. I love his content. Very, very good on masculinity, on what's going on and what's really missing nowadays. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him, let him introduce himself. We'll get it started.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. My name is DARRON Brown. I'm the host of a podcast for men. The goal of the podcast is to help men become the best version of themselves and teach them all aspects of masculinity, relationships, and making money.
Perfect, man. Like what I love what I hear already. Can you give me a brief on where you see the lacking and where you wanted to step in to be able to help all the young men nowadays?
Yeah, man, definitely. Well, you know, my background, I come from a pretty rough area in the Bay Area of California, and I played D1 college football for University of Utah.
Okay.
So I've been around tough, aggressive men for a large part of my life. And because of that, I know that being a man has more to do with than just aggression, making money, and getting women. There's other aspects to being a man, and I feel like there needs to be a space where not only do we have these high achieving men, but also we have men from other backgrounds that can tell their story and things can become a lot more well-rounded.
Yeah, for sure. What are your first 5 steps that you take that into beginning to build yourself up, learning yourself, like you said, not letting, obviously it's a byproduct of becoming who you are and becoming the best. A lot of men always focus on women all the time. Like, where would you say that they need to start?
I think that a lot of people talk about having purpose in your life, man. But honestly, I think purpose is great, but for most young men who are still learning life, they're still figuring out the dating game, they're trying to get things together. I think the first thing you can do is actually start controlling your diet. Your body is something that you can control. Managing the food you eat, managing the things that you put into your body and getting your best physical shape. Just doing that alone is going to help not only change your body, it's going to impact the way that you think. Now, after you've updated your body, I would say start working on your mind. Start reading more books. For me personally, I started the self-improvement journey a few years back, and it happened just unconsciously, just because I was reading a lot of books around masculinity, books like Relentless, the guy who coached Michael Jordan. There's another book called The Way of the Superior Man. There's also a book called The Righteous Mind, but I was reading these powerful books, and just over time, they helped change my way of thinking. So you know how they say, well, actually, I can get into my third step right now.
Okay.
So the next thing is after you've worked on your body, you worked on your mindset, you need to get your circle straight. Because when you're improving yourself, you're becoming a new person. You're evolving. Because you're evolving, the people around you may not be evolving as well.
That's very true.
So because of that, you need to be mindful not only of the type of women you date, but you need to be mindful of the type of people you call friends. In life, I personally believe that you should look for allies, not friends. Allies are people who are also, they have a similar purpose to you and they're moving in a similar direction to you. And I think if you don't confuse those two words, you'll be going in the right direction.
Okay, I like
now,
that.
Another thing, yeah, right on, man. And then another thing I like, I got my master's from the University of Utah when I was 28. I went to the graduate school at the University of Utah when I was 28, graduated when I was 30. And when I was there, I was so used to wearing like sports clothes and just dressing down. But that was the first time I was around professionals. So I would say start taking pride in the way that you dress. Clothes carry energy, man. If you dress like you from the streets, you're going to act like you from the streets. But if you dress like you're worth $1 million, you're going to believe you're worth $1 million.
That's true. Okay.
And then number 5, man, I would just say pick up a hobby. Find something find a skill set. Find something you can put your energy into and just become good at it. You don't have to know what you're going to do for the rest of your life, but by becoming strong in a specific area, it's going to help you build your confidence.
Okay. So once we're doing confidence, setup, appearance, and everything, can you elaborate real quick on, or give a small description about allies and friends? How would you break that down?
Oh man, the reason I bring this up because this is something that I've actually been dealing with recently. Well, I've dealt with over the past few years, and I've kind of come to a conclusion recently. Growing up, when you grow up in the hood, your friends are your family.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
they were like my brothers to me. I've flown out from right now I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay.
I've flown out from Utah to California to go visit friends in jail. Just make sure they doing well, man. But then as I've risen and I started doing things, I moved away from having a street mentality. When I went from playing college football to actually focusing on building a career, that's when I started to get a lot more hatred from the people I grew up with. And then not only that, the people that I went to college with who were like these, who grew up in better environments, they had better available education. They used to call me a gangster D. So they saw me as like just some street dudes. I wasn't aware of it at the time, but they didn't take me seriously.
Yeah.
But then I started to exceed even their expectations and then do better than them. So I got hatred from this group. And then basically what I learned is that, man, I was creating relationships on an improper basis. When you grow up or you're in school, you're friends with people who are just around. They're friends of a friend, or you're just used to them. So you get used to people, you get used to behaviors. And you're not aware that while you're around these people, you guys are all developing a common mindset.
True.
And then if you're going to do the self-improvement route and actually start trying to make some money, you're going to, because when you're doing that, your thinking is going to change, and the people around you are going to be aware that you're changing. And it's just natural for them to try to bring you back to their way of doing things. So I would say, just as an adult man, when you're as an adult man, where you're actually pursuing your purpose and you're actually just high achieving, you're doing things, you need to surround yourself around people who are, I don't want to say you want to use people, but you need to surround yourself around people who are actually useful to you.
Yeah.
People who, that's why I say allies. If you take a look at like old kingdoms, they would have wars against other kingdoms, but then they also have partner kingdoms, and it's because those other kingdoms, they had a similar purpose, and they had like business together. Maybe it was trade of like goods and services or things like that.
Yeah,
but
I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay.
Exactly. You should basically surround yourself around men who are actually like what we're doing right now. We're taking care of business. We're both building our platform.
Yeah.
Surround yourself around people who are trying to elevate in life.
Okay. I get you. So like circle that, you just be connected with somebody that can just add value instead of just extracting from you.
Exactly.
Okay. What about like that mentality? I mean, I come from it, man, like down south here in South Cali, man, from San Bernardino, and real rough down here. And it's like, as you're elevating, as you say, and everything, just getting better. You have your childhood friends that's going up and going with you. Like, obviously, you're gonna have a handful that just not elevating themselves and kind of just tugging along with you, like you dragging them on. Like, here, man, you putting everybody on. Here's opportunity, and a lot of guys don't know how to separate that. They don't, like, somebody's holding them down. They're like anchor. You know what I'm saying? Like they can't grow any more further because they don't want to feel like they're disloyal to where they came from and stuff like that. Yeah. So like, what would you say, like, for the guy that's don't want to let go of the friend that's actually, or the friend that they think is their friend that's holding them down?
Well, first I want to empathize with the person because I went through this process myself, and as I was climbing, I tried to bring people with me. I try to let them know about books I was reading or things I was doing or things that was helping me grow because I wasn't always a positive person. But you have to realize that, like they say, you can bring the horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink. And man, and basically for people who are thinking about that, who it's hard for them to move on from relationships, whether that is a friendship or even a romantic relationship, it's really a lack of immaturity on your side because you have a false belief about how relationships are supposed to work. You know, in life, we're always evolving. The whole purpose of life is actually to grow and to learn. And everybody has their own path in life. And basically you're trying to get people to walk along your path. But some people are going to continue walking down that path and some people are going to go in another direction. And you have to learn to accept that as a man as you grow up. And that's going to continue to happen throughout your life when you're going to have a partner. Maybe that relationship lasts 5 years, 10 years, maybe it lasts for life. You'll have kids. Your kids will move on. People will die. businesses will fail, things will climb. But that's life is all about growth, and it's all about destruction. You know, you just got to go with the flow.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Can you give me briefly about, you spoke on health. A lot of times, like you said, like guys, young men are just flowing through it, eating whatever, not paying attention to how their body can improve. They just so focused. Sometimes I get you might be focused on the money, might be focused on the dollar and chasing it so bad, but they forgetting to prioritize their day and they weeks on how they get things done.
That comes down to habits, man. You know, I can understand being busy and being focused on one area of life so you don't put too much attention to another area. But really what it comes down to is a rhythm. We all move at our own type of rhythm with life, and also the way that we eat. So I would say that if you are a high achieving man, or you're a man of certain goals, you have to just basically create a new pattern. This is how I did it. Before, I have a pretty clean diet right now, but before it became this way, I took baby steps. First thing I eliminated from my diet was water. I did that. Was like juices and sodas and stuff like that. Okay. And I did that for about a year or so. From there, I eliminated bread. Did that for a few years, and then from that, it went from junk food, sweet. This didn't happen over time. And the biggest thing, the thing that made the biggest difference for me, when I was playing football, I was 6'3", 243 pounds. And this girl was interested in me. She chased me. She came after me. She wanted to hang out. And we hung out. And then, we did our thing. But when I took my shirt off, I can tell she was like turned off. We did our thing. Never heard from her again. After that happened, I lost 50 pounds in a month and a half. A month and a half, I lost 50 pounds. Quick. Exactly. I switched it up quick. Okay. And you'll realize when you hustling, having a good diet and also exercising, it's going to help your business because it's going to give you the energy to grind.
Okay, I'll get you. It's funny that you say that because I've seen before that people say that when they see somebody that's just like not so much carrying themselves like dressed properly, like self-grooming, I guess you can say like out of shape too. I've seen this business venture that the guy said that he didn't even want to do business with somebody that just didn't really too much take care of himself because he said, I'm investing money with this dude. He might treat my money the same way he's treating himself. Like he's not so much self-caring. And that he said that that's actually byproduct that like it shows that you want to take care of everything, like your OCD with everything, like everything matters.
Your thinking changes, man. If you take a look at how people looked in the 90s, the 80s, and before that, people were in a way better shape back then. And I think that, and from what I hear, at least, that people ate just as much as we eat now. It's just we have all these different types of chemicals in our food. But I believe that there's our relationships right now. We see it in our society. Relationships are looking like crap. Even our relationships with people in general, like people are a lot more immature and they don't have time to really focus. But I feel like the diet has to go along with that. I think that's why I think people being unhealthy has a lot to do with how they're thinking right now. Like, I think it contributes to how people can't focus. But if you actually if you're healthier and you have a better diet, I feel like that doing that is actually going to change your thinking in long term as well. It's going to do things for you that you're not even aware of. Like you'll think you'll be the same person and you'll think the same. Like if you're, say for example, you're 300 pounds and you're thinking a certain way. Once you lose like 120 pounds, your thinking is going to change. You're going to be a completely different person. It's just, you have to go through it to understand it.
Yeah. Being like, it seems like everything's going back and it's going back to the base of the whole thing is just having the mindset. What would you recommend for somebody, like I said, somebody just don't believe in themselves, don't have the motivation to get started. They start, they quit, they're inconsistent. Like how would you recommend they change that mindset and get started step by step by step?
You got to find idols. Okay. You got to find people who you admire and people you want to be like. Try to refrain from being jealous. A lot of times when I've tried to help people and some people have gotten jealous. And a lot of times when people are in a lower state, they are prone to being angry and jealous and they have other vices as well. But I would say try to find somebody that you admire and then just go all in. Okay. You can't, you have to be a different person than who you are.
Okay. And I'm not sure if you use this term too. I mean, it's been going around very, very, like, a lot going through, but everybody has goals that they want to reach, like all the typical 5 to 7 things: income, be in shape, have the correct mindset, obviously byproduct, be able to attract the ladies, and just be a professional through their day and be able to be a leader, a correct man for the household, for your family, for your children, everything like that. What is your definition of the whole package of high value?
What's my definition of a high value male?
High value male.
Oh man, that's a good question, man. You know, we have all these different terms: high value male, alpha male, all these things. For me personally, what I see a high value male as, or I'll even throw alpha, what I see a man at that level as, I feel like a high value man is a man that lives life based off of he lives life to the beat of his own drum. He does what he wants to do. He loves himself, and I don't think that having muscles or having the fastest car and all that stuff makes you a high value man or even an alpha male. I think loving yourself and doing what you want to do apologetically makes you an alpha. You can be the best baker, best cookie maker in the world, but if that's what you want to do, you love who you are, and you're willing to set boundaries and protect who you are and let people know, that's going to make you a high value male. People respect that.
Okay, like that. So would you recommend, I mean, I'm on the same boat too. That whole, we understand that 1% everybody wants to get to, have that top dollar, that money, that athlete type of clout and celebrity type fame and all that stuff like that. Like how you said, like high value, I don't believe it has anything to do with that valuement of like the dollar sign and everything like that. How can, or do you believe that a man that's a little more like, say, being soft and attentive to like a woman's call, not so much being a leader or anything like that, more like a beta type, like can he transform and be an alpha?
Do I believe a beta can become an alpha?
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad you asked me that, man. Are you familiar with the author by the name of Ron Wills?
Sounds familiar.
Ron Wills has a book called Nice Guys and Players. And
Check that out.
in that book, he talks about the two alphas and the two betas. The two alphas is the guy that can get women based off of his body. The other alpha is the guy that can get women based off of the amount of money he makes. The beta is the guy that plays games, and the beta is the nice guy. And one thing that he mentioned in his book is that he doesn't believe in alpha and beta. He believes in select and non-select. Regardless of where you sit at on the paradigm, whether you're at the bottom or the top, all men have women who are attracted to them. Some men have more women that are attracted to them. Some men have less women that are attracted to them. But you need to find your tribe and find out which women are attracted to you, because you will be an alpha within that group. That makes sense?
Okay, that makes sense. Because like you said, like it's your tribe that you're looking for instead of trying to be all together, like how it's separated. Okay, I get that.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, because I would see like everybody on this mindset, especially on the internet, that everybody that like they need to transform to be an alpha, like just in particular with whatever is said demographically through like 1 through 10.
It's so broad on the internet.
Yeah.
It's just like they're telling everybody's regurgitating the same things. They're saying, "Oh, you're alpha, you're a Chad, you're a Tyrone. You got to have like the perfect body, the right height, 6 figures, six this." Yeah. I know for a fact. I can get a woman, but I've been rejected by a lot of women as well. But I've seen women with men from all different shapes and sizes. You have to stop comparing yourself to people first off, and you have to be cognizant of who you are. Become your best self. Develop your best body. Dress in a way that's appealing to the opposite sex, and you're going to attract the woman that naturally is attracted to a man like you.
Okay. And what about the man who's in search for this and trying to find it, having to go, I guess, say, neighbor, family member, coworker, or just somewhere else a man that grew up with a couple sisters and just a mom in the house, no male figure. How can he look into finding his masculinity since he wasn't around? He grew up not around any men.
Okay. So a guy who is, he's raised by women
Mhm.
and he's dealing with all these issues.
Yeah.
How is he supposed to go and find his masculinity?
Mm.
From what that sounds like, that's the type of man who's not only looking for his masculinity, that's the type of man that's looking to find peace in his life. When you're at this point in your life as a man, this is a great moment, believe it or not. This is like a self-exploration point in your life. So for you, if you're a man that's in that place, you should seek male mentorship. You can get male mentorship in a book. You can get it from joining like a fight club or something like that, or just a boxing gym. But you need to surround yourself around other men that you can basically mimic, you can learn from. You also need to push yourself. Don't be afraid of making mistakes, of having an emotional outburst, putting yourself out there, because that's where the learning occurs. I went through a decade of just losses, and I didn't know why things weren't going the way that I wanted them to go. But along that decade, like, I was making minimal progress in key areas of my life, which allowed me to continue to exceed and accelerate in other areas of my life. The last few years of my life, things have been going well. I can see things. Even the podcast is starting to pick up. Like, things are like on the up and up. But everybody goes through these waves in life where they're low and they're high. I would say for a man that's in that position, just go out there, seek some male mentorship, and join some kind of club or some kind of activity.
Okay. Not to move too far off the subject, but honestly, can you fill us in more about what your podcast is about, what got you, how you started, and to where you're at right now?
Originally, the podcast was called Geek Speak. The reason I named it Geek Speak was because, as I stated, when I was playing football, I got a lot of support from my family and from the people from my neighborhood. But once I stopped playing football and I decided that I was going to focus on building a career and using my mind, I got a lot of people that I grew up with, family included, that just were hating on me. People I didn't expect to, add negativity to my life, started hating. So because of that, I knew that I could not be the only man that was going through this. I could not be the only man that was growing up in the hood, trying to make something happen for himself, and then had people from the hood trying to pull them down. So I want to build a space where our men can also be aggressive, but they can be intelligent as well. You can be an athlete. You can be this buff dude as well, and you can also read a book. You can develop skills in other areas. You can use your mind. So I use the title as Geek Speak. Now, the reason I went from Geek Speak to a podcast for men is because the videos that got the most traffic had to do with manhood and relationships. So I saw that there was a high need for like male mentorship and just male direction, just help for men in general. Self-improvement for men was like became the priority for my podcast. So I changed the name to a podcast for men, and here I am.
Yeah. Okay. How long did you start?
I started about this coming March will be 2 years.
Okay. Very good. And being you come from a background of education, you play college ball. What would you recommend for the guys who don't know whether they should want to go to school, or nowadays you could be a business owner with touch and flipping the phone or whatever it is that anybody can do and create their own business? Would you being an entrepreneur, would you recommend entrepreneurship, or would you say grab education first and be an entrepreneur?
I would always recommend being an entrepreneur. But with that being said, you have to have a plan. I planned on starting my business when I was 12 years old. I said, by the time I get to about 28, 30, that's when I'm going to start my business. I'm going to go to school and do X, Y, and Z. I know that now people are getting into like college student loan debt, and they're getting a college degree that they can't use in the real world. And it's hard for them to climb. what college does do for you is that college, it gets you out of the house. It puts you around new people. You can go to college in a different state and it can help you become a better person, which is what it's done for me. Now, if you are, and the college also gives you a purpose. A lot of people I know, they don't know what they want to do. And then they go to college because their parents tell them to do something because their parents want them to. Mm. But if they weren't in college, they would just be at home not knowing what they want to do. So at least college gives you a direction. It introduces you to people who can give you new ideas. Now, if you decide not to go to college, you need to have a plan. You can't just not go to college and not have a plan. I'm an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur. We're hustlers. We have a plan and we're pursuing our goals right now. Mm. So if you have a goal that you're going to work on and you have a plan for it, then yeah, definitely don't go to college. There's plenty of billionaires who didn't go to college for wealthy. For sure. But don't go to college and not have a plan. Because I know plenty of people I grew up with who didn't go to college, who didn't graduate high school, and they still in the hood and they broke. Mm.
Okay. What would you say to a man who is fixated on, he has a stable job, say he's making, let's say he's making about $60K, and has a bachelor's degree in whatever it is that he's doing. He actually was able to get a job from his actual schooling, and he comes down to finally meets this girl, and the relationship's starting to go sour. And then, like, I've seen it around all the time. I've actually talked to people on my podcast that, like, they actually just become very depressed, and they're so worried about a relationship that they can't replace that one girl. I try to show and tell a lot of guys that try to have an abundance mindset that you're the prize, and that to stop chasing like certain type of women, because if you focus on yourself and get your value up, that everything comes easier and you have a higher selection to choose from. I see a lot of guys nowadays that are just so focused on keeping what could be better when it comes to the dating market nowadays. Like how would you recommend to courting women nowadays and making sure you don't waste your time?
Man, I've been there. God, man, I definitely experienced this with women a few times, man. Okay. What I can tell men right now, because I actually have a daughter. I have a daughter, and I have a daughter basically because I was doing what you just explained. Mm. There are guys who are with women that basically women, when a relationship, what I'll say is this. When you break up with a woman, when a relationship ends, just let it end. Mm. You know, you shouldn't block the number, delete it so you don't call her back. Move on. I know it's painful, but these are learning experiences. You said it right. You should continue to work on yourself, and you're going to continue to open more doors, and you're going to become an attractive person. Yeah. Now, you're not aware of it. I'm a real spiritual person, but people aren't aware of it. A lot of times when you have these failed relationships, they're just lessons. They're things that you're supposed to learn so that you can become the best version of who you are. Mm. You know, I'm fortunate enough that when I did have a child with this woman that with my baby mama, somebody I've known for over a decade, but when I did have a child with her, I was already financially stable, you know. But a lot of men, I've been in this position before, like what you're explaining. Yeah. I've had this feeling with women when I was like 18, 20 years old. You're too young to be thinking about that, man. Exactly. I promise you, like, you're not even fully physically developed yet. I didn't really start growing facial hair until I was about 28, man. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, just don't sweat it, man.
Okay. Nowadays, like being with social media nowadays, would you recommend for men to be using dating apps and stuff like that, courting women, or should they be out in public, like building some confidence, addressing women cold approach?
Oh man, I'm glad you asked me this one as well. It's weird because I think women are just as weird as guys are. Mm. They don't talk about that, but women, a lot of young women today are paranoid. You know, when I first got into college, Facebook had just came out. So people were used to cold approaching. Women were used to being cold approached. And women were also more aggressive. If a woman was interested in you, she would make it known she was interested in you. She would put herself around you, or she would tell her friends to talk to you. But people knew that nothing wasn't going to happen unless somebody approached somebody, unless you guys started talking to each other. So because I'm so used to that, I would definitely recommend meeting somebody in person and having a casual conversation with them, because things will go in your favor most of the time. These dating apps are more based off of pictures. But I will say this, is that it's a lot more difficult for young men than it was for me when I was coming up. You know, America was a lot more social then. So you developed your social skills when you were young. When you were in like grade school, you developed your social skills. Yeah. Now, because people are isolated and everything's technical, it's everything's technology based. It's just you don't develop those social skills that you could have did before, both men and women. So I would say if you're really trying to get to know a woman, I would join like some kind of yoga. I would join like some kind of hip hop dance, something that women were. Put yourself in an environment where women are around, and they can get to know you, so then that they can feel comfortable. Because I promise you, the women are just as nervous as you are.
Okay. And can you give me, in your words, your definition, what type of structure should a man have? How should he prioritize everything when it comes to family, health, relationships, his money? Like, well, how would you do that? One starting from one.
This is going to sound selfish, but a man, you should always prioritize yourself first. You're at the top. You're at the top. Your business is at the top. Your woman's below you. Your children's below you. Everything else is below you. You're number one. If you don't take care of you, the bills don't get paid. If you're not happy, the household isn't happy. Happy life, happy wife is BS. You have to take care of you. I promise you, if you take care of you, you do everything that I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, you will have an amazing life. You will travel the world. I mean, man, I've never put it like this. When I finished playing football, I graduated with an undergraduate in economics. I had to work out with the San Diego Chargers and the Seattle Seahawks. Nothing happened. And nothing happened. So after that, the job I had out of college, I was a janitor for about 4 months. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm a software engineer. I didn't go to school for software engineering. I taught myself how to code when I was playing football. Got lucky. It was just a hobby of mine. You know, I never even thought I'd be a software engineer, man. I didn't even know what that was at the time when I was coding. Okay. You know what I'm saying? My point is this, is that we're all starting at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? If I didn't develop these skill sets and focus on me and try to build a career and basically make money out of something that I love doing, I would have never been able to travel the world, man. I've done things that people have never done in my household. I've been to the Middle East. I've been to Europe. You know, where else I was at? Middle East, Europe. Well, I've been outside this country, man. It's like I never thought about traveling overseas at all. So I promise you, it may look dark right now because you're young and, you know, you're comparing yourself to all these dudes on social media, lifestyle. But man, this is the time to grind. So always put you first.
Okay. And my last question is going to be, what would you recommend for the man in his later 30s who has felt like he's lost himself? He felt like he used to have it, had a good job, had the family and everything, has went through a split, divorce, whatever it is, ended up losing his job, and he feels like it's too late to start over.
I'll just let y'all know I'm not in my later 30s, so I don't know what a dude in his later 30s, what he would do. Oh, man, that's a hard question, dude. I mean, I'm not sure if I can accurately answer this because I can't relate to that type of man. But you said a man that's divorced, he's lost everything that he's worked for.
Yeah.
Put like this, men, I hear in this space in the manosphere that men get screwed by the court system. The court system isn't in support of men. I've never been married. I think alimony is a different story. But when it comes to like your children, things like that, the courts are fair. The problem is a lot of men just don't fight. They don't fight for what they want. I have experience in this place. If you want to have access to your child or you want to have control of your life, yes. If you don't do anything, the courts are always going to favor the woman if you don't do anything. But if you can beat her to the punch, get yourself a lawyer, and go through those cases, things will work out for you. Now, for me personally, if I would say that if I was in my late 30s, I was married, I had kids, and things had fall apart, you know, me being me and me being a hustler, I don't think that would phase me too much because at that time I would expected that I've had as many kids as I wanted to have by that time, hopefully. And yeah, I've hit these milestones in my life. You know, like I said, you've already hit the main milestones. You made your money, you got married, you had kids. If you're in a position where now you're free at 40, I would just start I would spend more time into figuring out who I am. I would travel more. I would become a lot more relaxed. By the time you're 40, you went to school, you've had a career, you went through these ups and downs with friendships and other relationships. It's like there's not much more you can do in that department. Now it's all about just you finding out who you are and becoming the man you always wanted to be, not the man that society has told you had to be.
Okay, I like that, man. Well said. Man, a lot of good points here, man. When I'm editing this episode, man, a lot of good pointers gonna come out here, man. I'll make sure I'll send you a lot of copies of them. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Appreciate your time,
right,
man. And man, really like your podcast, man. Keep it pushing, man. I see you growing real fast, so all in a good move, man.
Right on. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Thanks.
See you.